welcome to the Courageous Self-Care Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we get into self-care that goes deep. It is beyond the bubble baths, the chocolate, and the wine. It is self-care that it can get uncomfortable. That's why it takes courage. You often need a guide for it. And as a result, it becomes transformational. Today on my show, we have a special guest. It is Donna McArthur. Donna, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I would like to say, Christina, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really enjoy it. I've really loved watching and listening to all the amazing women that you've had, especially that they're Canadian. Mostly the ones that I've seen are Canadian. And I just think that's fantastic to start spreading the word amongst fellow wonderful Canadian women. So thank you. I have been a practicing chiropractor over across the mountains in Invermere, BC for 22 years. I work together with my husband, and we have a wellness-based waiting list practice. And we also have 2 teenage boys. And, we maintain a fairly active wellness-based lifestyle. And over the last 22 years, I've really had the great opportunity to get up close and personal with thousands of women. And I've learned and grown from these women and really seen, that they're struggling, as have you in your work, and that they are looking for more. And that led me to develop an online community, an online program. I run the Better Life Academy once a year, as well as I'm a blogger and, just do all kinds of cool things like that too, which I love.
Wow. You are up to a lot of cool stuff, and it sounds like it's really fulfilling.
Yeah, it's great.
And I love how you were talking about Canadian women, and you're all red and white where you are, your painting and your curtains and your shirts.
That wasn't intentional, but I never thought of that.
Yeah. It's a Yay Canada Day.
Yeah. In the middle of winter.
Yeah. And if you aren't in Canada, come visit us. All right. So Donna, I would love to hear what your favorite self-care practice is.
Okay. Well, as you said, Christina, I think it was when you were talking to Eileen lately, you mentioned that the greatest journey we can take is the journey of self-discovery. And I'm totally on board with that. I think that there is a self-knowledge crisis in our culture, but I've noticed that a lot of your guests talk about meditation, contemplation, prayer, stuff like that, which, is for sure my number one self-care practice. So I'm going to kind of switch across the aisle to talk about something a little bit different, which is also really important, which is strength training or exercise. What I found personally and in my practice, I've seen this a ton. When women, I'm going to talk specifically about women, when women engage in strength training, it actually gives them a deep dive into self-knowledge, because they push the boundaries, they go beyond what they think that they can do. And I've seen remarkable changes, obviously physically, but mentally, with what women feel is going on for them. So to me, that's a big self-care practice that I have, and one that I've seen be very successful for tons of people in my practice.
Yeah. Once again, I'm covered in goosebumps. It always happens when people share their favorite self-care practice.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
That one aligns with the Courageous Self-Care Foundation of embodied action. And I am a big fan of the body.
Yeah.
And that's a funny thing to say, but a lot of people actually aren't. They think their bodies are against them and are doing things to them, when actually our bodies are always on board. They're always teaching us. They have so many messages for us. And for the most part, women haven't learned how to listen. And so what you're talking about is getting into, like, if we need to learn a lesson, if we can learn it in our bodies first, it's so much easier for our mind to understand. So we can learn how strong and powerful we are. And when we do it with strength training, as you're talking about, it amplifies and gives us a cellular memory of, there was that time when I felt like I couldn't do it. And with the help of my coach, or with the power of my mind, I convinced myself that I could, and I did. And we can always refer back to that memory, and it's so powerful.
So powerful. And you're so right that so many people are really disconnected from their body, and that's where it really begins. And I find that when you learn to push through, and I'm not saying push through pain that's unhealthy. I'm talking about do more than you physically think you could. There was an excellent book. I don't know if you saw it. It's by Jesse Isler. And he had a Navy SEAL come and live with him to teach him and his family
Wow.
different life skills. And one of my big take homes from that was that what he learned from that guy is that whatever you think you can do, you can actually do 40% more. So it's
Mm-hmm.
whether you're writing or working for 40% longer, or you're lifting 40% more weight, or you're sitting in meditation for longer than you anticipated. Whatever you, even housework, right? Oh, I think I can get this and this done. Well, actually, you can probably do 40% more. So that's a great self-care tip that I have that I would offer to your patients, or to your people, sorry, patients, that whatever you think you can do, you can actually push it a little bit farther.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a loving way, for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but then it's empowering when, when you
Yes.
realize, wow, I just did that. I sat in meditation 10 more minutes, or I lifted, however much more weight, or I did this asana that I'd never done before. It's very, very empowering. And from there, you can open up into all different, other areas of your life.
Absolutely. And what it is you're not pushing through pain. What you're pushing through is discomfort and the limitations of your mind. That's it. Like your body actually can do so much more, as you're saying. And I heard it the reverse way. Last year, my mom said that she had heard that you can do 60, or when you think you're at your maximum, you're actually only at 60%.
Right.
And she shared that with my daughter, who was doing an endurance track meet, like many, many kilometers around the track. And that is exactly what Zoe did. She felt like she was at her maximum, and she reminded herself, okay, I'm actually only at 60%. I can do more than
More.
I think I can. And it's such a powerful belief to have.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why, as silly as it might sound regarding self-care, especially in the context of your program, which is very spiritual and I love, that's why I went with strength training, because as strange as it seems, you can really open up your mind and your
Yes.
heart and your soul by doing more, even if it's in the gym.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's why one of the whole foundations is about being in your body in a way that serves
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
And using the discomfort and the pain that comes along, and the trials that we have with our bodies, not as something to even overcome, just to use them as messengers so that we can learn more about ourselves.
Yeah. And grow. Exactly.
Beautiful. Well, that was fun. I like that idea. And I love that you have been watching so that you could use some of the information that guests have already shared and then go beyond that. I appreciate that.
Well, I loved it. I just enjoyed so much listening to the other women. They were
Oh,
wonderful.
yeah, they have been truly wonderful, absolutely. And yeah, I was just looking at the statistics of the podcast the other day, and most of the listeners are in Canada. So shout out to all the Canadians. And
Woohoo!
but we do have listeners as far as Australia. So I was really excited to see that in
Oh,
Mexico and India.
very cool.
It shows a global map, and my son was looking at it with me, and the countries where there are listeners light up in yellow. And he said, Mommy, soon all of it will be yellow. Even if just one person listens in Russia, it'll light up the whole country.
That's right.
And that's what we're going for here, is a global impact on how we can transform ourselves so that the world can transform in the way that it wants to.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Beautiful. All right. So then we'll move into the second portion, which is where I love to hear stories of courage. And just if you haven't listened before, the reason that I love to hear people's stories of courage, whether they are giant, courageous moments, or even it took me courage to get out of bed this morning. And let's dive into what that felt like and sounded like, because I feel like there's this pervasive energy of courage, and we can tune into it whenever we want, but sometimes we just don't know how. And so when we hear other stories of courage, it gives us ideas, it gives us insight, and it gives us more access to that energy when we feel like we need to use it as well. So Donna, let's hear your story of courage.
Well, I love that courage is one of your core beliefs, Christina. And of course, as is all of your other speakers, mine is similar. I really believe that for a life totally well lived, we need to step out of our comfort zone occasionally. So what I have done, I do try to do that. It is something that I've always worked towards. Recently, I had a very big one in that I quit drinking alcohol. And that was a long, long journey for me. And it's something I've always wanted to do, and I've done off and on over the years. And just recently, well, I've done a lot of research into it, which I never thought I would do. Me researching addiction, and well, I'm a brain nerd, so I'm always looking at the newest research on brain development, but not necessarily in the field of addiction. So I have been doing that recently, and what I did, I mean, it's long, and I won't go into it today, but I changed my liminal thinking, my core deep subconscious beliefs around alcohol. And that took a few months. And then I just stepped away from it easily and have become a very happy non-drinker. But that for me is a huge story of courage, because I loved it. That's the bottom line. The reason I had to be brave is because I love wine. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it was no longer serving me. And I knew that I could live a bigger, better life without it. So that's what I've done recently to be very, very brave.
Now, this is very interesting, and I have lots of questions for you. So, and congratulations, that is amazing. So the first question I have is, when we feel like we want to do something differently, change a habit, like you did with wanting to stop drinking alcohol, there has to be, for courage to be involved, there has to be a value on the other side that is going to pull us through the fear. So what would you say that value is?
My value is, one of my deep core values is needing to step out of your comfort zone to live your best life. And I wasn't doing that. I was in tiny little bits, right? But then you have the number one reason people procrastinate is because they're tired. And when I would drink alcohol, when I'd have a glass of wine the night before or two, I would be more tired the next day. So I didn't get as much done as I wanted. My soul journey wasn't happening as deeply as I wanted it to. So to answer your question about what my core value would be, it would ultimately be really wanting to live to my fullest potential and knowing that there's a lot more in there than I was showing up as. And I have to say, I was showing up really high. I was showing up, doing all these things I described, running an online program, parenting 2 kids, having a very busy practice. So, I'm like, I think a lot of women in our culture running a fast-paced, successful, busy life while they're drinking wine, which is very pervasive in our culture right now. So, yeah. So anyway, to answer your question, it was that my value, what got me out of bed and what really made me want to change was knowing there was more there for me. Really knowing it deep inside.
Beautiful. Yeah, that is. So I can tell that you've done a lot of personal work to be able to even tune into that value and then to take those steps toward it. So,
well, and it's a lot. It took years.
Yeah.
And that's what that's the next thing I'm going to teach teach other people how, if they're interested in exploring their relationship with alcohol, some suggestions that they could take.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, okay, I have one more question and then we'll wrap it up. What did it take to move through that fear? Like, clearly you kept coming back to it. You were persistent. Like, at the hardest moment, what got you through sticking to your vision for yourself?
It would have been my belief in a higher power, my belief in my greater self that was going to guide me and show me, and I just had to show up. And so my spiritual life has got much deeper, and it got deeper even before I quit, because I knew I couldn't just, like you say, get out of bed and try to not drink. I needed to anchor in and, meditate, contemplate, write, do all those practices that really worked for me. So what got me through the fear was the belief that I was being guided by my higher self to live my better life.
Beautiful. And that makes me think of, I always love to bring it back to some of the foundations of courageous self-care. So one of them is tuning into and trusting your intuition, which you clearly did through all of those
Right.
action steps like meditating and journaling. And
Yeah.
they take action. You can't just sit there.
Exactly.
And then the other one it speaks to, the other foundation is the connection. So connecting to your body, connecting to spirit, connecting to other people. And connection could be a whole teaching in itself. It's just
Right.
so powerful. It changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
beautiful. Well, Donna, thank you for sharing that. That was really powerful and inspiring. And I know a lot of people are going to want to learn more. So where can they find you?
Well, probably the best way would be to go on my website, which is drdonna.ca, drdonna.ca, and sign up for my blogs, and then you'll get further information coming down the road as things open up.
Beautiful. I feel so grateful to have connected with you, Donna, in your story
You,
of courage and your self-care practice. So thank you very much for being a guest. I feel really honored.
thank you very much for having me, and I apologize for my bad camera.
No worries.
We got through
especially,
anyway.
especially if people are listening, it won't even affect it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's right. If they're just listening, it'll be a little easier.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Christina.
My pleasure. So to wrap things up, we are here Monday through Friday at the Courageous Self-Care Podcast, and you can tune in to hear more information and action-oriented strategic practices of self-care that will take you from wherever you are to living a life that's absolutely fulfilling and satisfying and connected and juicy and yummy. So please tune in again. If you are listening to the podcast, you can go ahead and like this episode if it was valuable to you, share it with your friends and become a follower. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can do the same. You can like, comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the Courageous Self-Care channel so that you know when the next episode is coming out. I will leave you with, two things. First, an invitation. So if you would like to be a guest and share your story of courage, please go to ChristinaMarlette.com and fill out the application just like Donna did. And look at what we got out of that, you being courageous.
Yay.
And then finally, my thought that I finish with on all the shows, because we need to hear it over and over, there is nothing selfish about self-care. That is one of the reasons that we feel like we don't deserve self-care. We don't deserve to spend time on ourselves. We don't deserve to spend money on our personal development. But truly, when you invest in yourself, it is the greatest investment you can make because it changes everything. You feel better. Your interactions with your immediate people in your life get better, and it ripples out into the entire world, because when one woman takes a stand and shows what it's like to live a life of courageous self-care, the effects go global and in fact universal. So there's nothing selfish in that. All right. Thank you again, Donna.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a
And
great
thank you. I look forward to connecting with you listeners and viewers again soon. Bye-bye for now.